The Wind in the Willows. Reading. Read this story by Kenneth Grahame about the mole that has never really lived outside his hole. One day, he decides to go out in the world and explore it. He meets a wonderful friend, the rat, who teaches him many things. The mole had been working very hard all the morning, spring cleaning his little home. First with brooms, then with dusters, with a brush and a pail of whitewash. It was small wonder, then, that he suddenly flung down his brush on the floor and said, "Hang spring cleaning," and bolted out of the house without even waiting to put on his coat. He thought his happiness was complete when he stood by the edge of a river. Never in his life had he seen a river before. As he gazed, something bright and small winked at him and a small face began gradually
to grow up round it. A brown little face, with whiskers, small neat ears and thick silky hair. It was the water rat. Then the two animals stood and regarded each other cautiously. "Hello, mole," said the water rat. "Hello, rat," said the mole. "Would you like to come over?" inquired the rat presently. The rat then lightly stepped into a little boat which the mole had not observed. It was painted blue outside and white within, and was just the size for two animals. The rat sculled smartly across. Then he held up his forepaw as the mole stepped gingerly down. "What a day I'm having," the mole said. "Let us start at once." "Hold hard a minute, then," said the rat. He climbed up into his hole above, and after a short interval reappeared staggering under a fat, wicker luncheon basket. "What's inside it?" asked the mole, with curiosity. "There's cold chicken inside it," replied the rat, "salad, French rolls, sandwiches, potted meat, gingerbread, lemonade, soda water." "Oh, stop, stop," cried the mole. "This is too much." "Do you really think so?" inquired the rat seriously. "It's only what I always take on these little excursions." Leaving the main stream, they now passed into a little landlocked lake. It was so very beautiful that the mole could only hold up both forepaws and gasp, "Oh my! Oh my! Oh my!" The rat brought the boat alongside the bank, helped the still awkward mole safely ashore, and swung out the luncheon basket. The mole begged to be allowed to unpack it all by himself, and the rat was very pleased to indulge him. His excited friend shook out the tablecloth and spread it, took out all the mysterious packets one by one, still gasping, "Oh my! Oh my!" When all was ready, the rat said, "Now, pitch in, old fellow." And the mole was indeed very glad to obey, for he had started his spring cleaning at a very early hour that morning, and had not paused for bite or sup. "Well, well," said the rat, "I'll suppose we ought to be moving." The rat sculled gently homewards in a dreamy mood. The mole was very full of lunch and was getting a bit restless, and he said, "Ratty, please, I want to row, now." The rat shook his head with a smile. "Not yet, my young friend," he said. "Wait till you've had a few lessons. It's not so easy as it looks." The mole began to feel jealous of the rat, sculling so strongly and so easily along. He jumped up and seized the sculls, so suddenly, that the rat, who was gazing out over the water, was taken by surprise and fell backwards off his seat, while the triumphant mole took his place and grabbed the sculls with entire confidence. "Stop it!" cried the rat. "You can't do it. You'll have us over." The mole flung his sculls back with a flourish, and made a great dig at the water. He missed the surface altogether, his legs flew up above his head, and he found himself lying on the top of the rat. Greatly alarmed, he made a grab at the side of the boat, and the next moment, sploosh! Over went the boat, and he found himself struggling in the river. Oh my, how cold the water was, and oh, how very wet it felt. Then a firm paw gripped him by the back of his neck. It was the rat. He got hold of a skull and shoved it under the mole's arm, propelled the helpless animal to shore, hauled him out, and set him down on the bank. When the rat had rubbed him down a bit, he said, "Now, then, old fellow, trot up and down the path as hard as you can, till you're warm and dry again, while I dive for the luncheon basket." The rat plunged into the water, recovered the boat, and finally dived successfully for the luncheon basket. When all was ready for a start once more, the mole, limp and dejected, took his seat in the stern of the boat, and as they set off, he said in a low voice, broken with emotion. "Ratty, my generous friend, I am very sorry indeed for my foolish and ungrateful conduct. Will you overlook it this once and forgive me, and let things go on as before?" "That's all right, blessing you," responded the rat cheerily. "What's a little wet to a water rat? I'm more in the water than out of it most days. Don't you think any more about it, and, look here. I can make you comfortable. And I'll teach you to row, and to swim, and you'll soon be as handy on the water as any of us." The mole was so touched by his kind manner of speaking that he could find no voice to answer him. An abridged extract from Kenneth Grahame's The Wind in the Willows. About the author. Kenneth Grahame, 1859 to 1932, was a Scottish writer. His most famous work is The Wind in the Willows, which is a children's novel. The book won the Lewis Carroll Shelf Award in 1958. His other famous works include Pagan Papers, The Golden Age, and Dream Days.